My coffee was actually quite good, so I'm glad that the machine worked, but we're back in my room and the lighting's gonna change because I'm quite literally using my TV as lighting. I'm watching the gymnastics Olympics right now. I don't know much about gymnastics if I'm being totally honest, but it's always one of the more fun ones to watch, so that's what I'm doing now. It's just as background noise. I wish I could show you how messy my room is, and I really could. I just don't know if I want to. Bear with me here as we do like a very impromptu, relaxed version of what I'm reading and what's going on with my reading as of recently. But I have been in such a reading slump literally the entire summer, and I want to say the entire year at this point, because it's gone to the point where I'm like, am I ever going to be able to pick up another book again? Not to be dramatic, but I don't know, I think it's a collection of having too many books in my TBR, having no real interest anymore in reading any of them, and then also the ones that I do want to read feel so inherently fall to me that it just doesn't seem right to be reading them right now. And since it's summer, I'm always wanting to read like a romance or something, but I have literally no romances on my bookshelf. Like, it's just not a book. Like, when I think of a romance, I think of Kindle, I think of, I don't know, Libby. I don't think of an actual physical copy, but I'm in the mood to read actual physical copies. Which then brings us to like the one kind of romance book that I have that I've been trying to read in physical form, and of course it's Magnolia Parks. I love this book, okay, but walk with me here. This book is so annoying to hold. It's ginormous, first of all. It's bigger than my head, which says a lot because I have a big head. But it's such a big book. The spine is so stiff, like there's no flop to it really at all. Like, this is not appropriate amount of flop for a book of this size. And I just don't love Magnolia. Like, Magnolia really gets on my nerves. Probably about 70% of this book. I'm 70% of the book right now, and just towards the end I've kind of just been like, oh, okay, like I don't dislike her so much. Like, they're really just not good for each other at all. I'm not going to spoil because this is the third book in the series, in the Magnolia Parks universe series, but it is about Magnolia and BJ once again, and they're just so not good for each other. And it's like, I can't be like, oh, it's because I'm 25 and like older than the characters in the book, because I'm literally the exact same age as the characters in the book, and I just cannot fathom moving the way that they move. Like, I can and I cannot also. Like, at some point my rationale in myself is going to be like, I don't want to live like this anymore. Like, I can't do it, and like exit the situation. And I understand if that was everybody's rationale, we would have no dramatic readings or films ever. But some parts of this book is just really hard for me to get through, just because it gets on my nerves. I'm like, what crazy thing are we gonna do today to keep from being with the person we want to be with? Like, at some point we both just need to be like, okay, let's stop being crazy. But anywho, I've been reading this book for probably 3 months, and like, I know like the last time we really sat down and like consistently posted with each other, which was probably like 2 months ago, 3 months ago at this point, it was my Daisy Hates reading vlog, and I love that book. I ate that book up. I loved Christian, I loved Daisy. It was giving plot. And what I just don't like Magnolia. I really don't. I don't. It hurts me in my core to say it. And it's crazy because I'm someone who really does support women's rights and wrongs, but I'm like, I am on BJ's side so much in this book. And I'm like, BJ is no saint. He's no saint at all, but I'm kind of like, okay, like at some point I can't be sacrificing more than you are, you know? Anywho, that's where I'm at with this book. So I'm about 75% into the book now. I have a hair in my mouth. Ugh. I hate when that happens. I'm about 75% of the way into this book now, and I really, like, to my core, need to finish this book this week. I can't go another week with it. It needs to be done in July because I want to get on to Daisy Hates The Great Undoing, I believe is what it's called, and that's gonna take me at least 2 weeks to get it. So I have to like finish this book, order that book, be excited for that book to come, and use that 2 week span to read something else so that I can read that book. But that is what I've been reading for literally the past 2.5 months. And I am also annotating it. You really can't tell, but I am. And then I'm listening to the audiobook as well. Like whenever I'm not reading it on my Kindle or reading it physically, I'm listening to the audiobook as like a way to hurry up and get through the book. And sometimes I can't really do that because I like to listen to audiobooks at 2 times the speed, and my TV just turned off. But I like to listen to an audiobook 2 times the speed, and I have to slow it down to 1.75 for this because it's in English accents, and that fast I really just don't know what they're saying. Like I really don't understand what they're saying when they're going that fast. So that's where I'm at with that book. Let's talk about the last 2 books I've like. I don't really want to do that right now, but I'll do another video where I do like a whole like what I've read so far this year. Right now we're just talking about the soft DNF books I've had on my reading list for the past 2.5 months. That's what we're gonna do. I don't think I've talked about this series really that much on my channel, just because I say this every time I talk about this book series or bring it up, and I think there's been a lot of times where I've tried to film like this disclaimer and then it just never makes it into a vlog because I don't finish the vlog. I have been reading the Throne of Glass series since the beginning of the year, I believe. Like once I finished A Court of Silver Flame, I started reading The Throne of Glass. There's a lot of conversation around the series that I don't really need to add to, but just as my reading journey, because I am reading it and like I can't be like, oh, I'm not reading that book when I am. I'm on books, I believe 6 and 7, so I've started the tandem read. And while I say, I very loosely say I've started the tandem read because loved Queen of Shadow. Ate that book up. Like that series really picked up after Heir of Fire, because in the beginning I was like, I don't know, y'all. I don't know why we love this series so much. And then Heir of Fire was really good, and then Queen of Shadow was just so good and I loved it. Ate it up, loved it so much. And then I immediately was ready to hop into Empire of Storms. However, the Libra really leapt out of me because I cannot decide for the life of me how I want to read this. I don't know if I want to read it in the tandem or if I want to just read the first one and then read the next one, like, you know, how it's in chronological order. I just can't decide. And I went through the entire process of like making myself bookmarks to know like I made myself a bookmark of like the tandem read of like where I need to be reading to, and then I also got like, I don't know, they're just fun. Like I feel bad because I'm kind of stealing, but like it's just for myself, so sorry. And I'm not gonna be like endorsing everybody else to do it, but if there are things that you want in this life, sometimes you just gotta give it to yourself. I've been reading, trying to read. I've literally just done like one part of the tandem read, like the first chapters. And what I realized is that because Empire of Storms comes next, then it's Tower of Dawn, and Empire of Storms picks up like right after. They both pick up right after where Queen of Shadow ends, which is why people say to do the tandem read, because they're happening simultaneously. Both books are happening at the same time, so you can kind of get through the series quicker that way, rather than like reading Empire of Storms, finishing it, and then going to Tower of Dawn because it's just starting back over again, if that makes sense. Totally get it. Totally understand the rationale as to why you would do the tandem read. However, I was reading the first couple of chapters of Empire Storm, which are about 2 of my favorite characters, and then we got into Tower of Dawn and it was about characters I didn't love, like I didn't feel too strongly about. And I was like, I'm doing them a very big disservice, a very big injustice by tandem reading right now, because I'm not giving them the love and support I'm sure they deserve, because I'm just like, okay, when is this chapter over? I want to get back to my besties, you know? So that's kind of what's made me stop reading the tandem read, because I can't decide how I want to read it. I understand that neither way really influences how you experience the series overall, but it kind of does at the same time. I also took a pause from it because I got a small teeny tiny weeny spoiler, and I'm giving myself time to forget that spoiler so that when I get back into the series I don't remember it. That's what forgetting means, but that's where we are with those 2 as well. I've been trying to read these last 3 books for the past 3 months, and it's really put me in a freeze state of not knowing what to read outside of them, because I'm like, those are haunting me in the corner of my room. I need to finish them, but whatever. And on top of that, I've also had this side quest of collecting the original covers of the books for months, And I feel like such a stupid dum-dum because I think we've talked about this before, and I think it's on my Instagram stories, or I don't know. My justification as well for reading the series is that I don't think I've purchased any of these books firsthand. Like, all of them have been secondhand. Yeah, I think I got Assassin's Blade from Target because I literally couldn't find it anywhere. But everything else I've done secondhand. Like, I haven't paid full price for it, and that's really been nice for me. And then also, I managed to find the original cover hardcover of Kingdom of Ash for $10. Yeah, God really smiled on me that day. He really did. He did his big one that day. And I remember when I bought this book, I went and I asked the customer service desk, I was like, hey, do you know if any of the stores around here have any of the other books in the original covers in hardback for the same price? They're like, oh yeah, there's one like 30-40 miles away that has Tower of Dawn hardcover for $10. We can have it shipped for you for $13. And I was like, oh no, the fun of like getting these books is that I get to find them by accident. Those words haunt me every day. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I didn't just pay the $3 extra to have it shipped to me. That really plagues me every time I go into a half-price book looking for the original cover hardcovers, because now someone has told them their value, and every single time I go into a half-price books, they're there, but they're there in the special edition section and are like hundreds of dollars. Yeah, that really pisses me off, but like, it's fine if it was meant to be. Like, it would just be, because when I went in there and found that book, I wasn't even looking for it. I just walked in one day and I was like, I wonder what's in here, and it was there. So like, I'm really working off the assumption that that's going to happen again. But y'all, don't go gift horse in its mouth. Like, if it's there, get it when you see it, because you never know when it's going to be available again. And that is my unhealthy, healthy financial tip to you. With that being said, we're almost done here with the reading update. Don't worry. I've also had like, sometimes when I've had like a really hard time, I go through like this phase of like, I want to buy everything right now. I don't care how much it costs. Like, I want to buy it right now because I need to feel better. And that's not great. That's not a great feeling at all. But this weekend I did kind of indulge, which not really, because I'm a firm believer in not paying full price for a book. Like, I hate it, and I hate it so much. It's just like, why would I do that? Like, when I know there's other opportunities where I can get it for much cheaper. And so that's why like sometimes I'm like, when people go to Barnes and Noble, I'm like, I get it. Like, let me finish. Let me cook. Whenever I see people go to Barnes and Noble, I'm like, wow, good for you. You've got that cash to just go in there and get whatever books you want. I love the hunt of going to half-price books and just finding whatever is available there and getting that book. But I went to Barnes and Noble for like the first time in like probably over a year at this point. I think it was yesterday. I went in there yesterday and I was like, wow, it's so nice to come in here and immediately find the book that I'm looking for and like be able to walk out. Did I buy it? No, but I was like, wow, yeah, I see the appeal of coming into Barnes and Noble. Your book will always be there. It's not always the case for half price, but it's half price book, so it's like half price, like the book is half price, so it's like I can't argue with that. I treated myself to some books this weekend just because I needed to feel something, and that's how I feel things. The first one I got was The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. I've been seeing this book for quite a while. This book is about a woman who has been turned immortal and has been trying to long for and is looking for a way to cope with this immortal life. And then she comes across an orphan, and that's how she becomes acquainted with being a vampire, essentially. So I love vampire literature. I don't know what it is. I think it's I love the gothicness of it. I love how gothic it is. It's always beautifully written. And I think it's just something about being human but not, and having to learn how to navigate that fine line. It's just so interesting to me. So I'm really interested in getting into this book. I also wanted to read something a little more outside of my wheelhouse, in the sense of like, all I've been reading right now is fantasy and romance, which you can kind of say like this is still fantasy, but it felt more elevated. It's more of a lit fic and less of a fantasy in that sense. So I found this one for $6. Yep. Yep. So I'm very happy for this one. So I got this. And then Saving the best for last. I have been looking at this book for a very long time. Like, I want to say this book came out in like maybe 2020, it came out in 2021. This book is about, I believe, an Asian American woman who is from an impoverished background, who then grows up to become, I think, a nanny of some sort for a very wealthy family, and how she becomes enmeshed into that family, and how a lot of her dark secrets of her past start to catch up with her in her current life. And it's like a little bit something to do with like a love triangle, thriller, which is not something I read ever, really. I'm not really a thriller person, but I have been looking at this book for a very long time and have been wanting to read it, but just like not enough for me to justify paying full price for it. So when I found it for $2, I said, $2, you got me. So this is one that I've got, and I think it's going to help with my reading slump, because I think if it's what I think it is, it'll be a fast read. And it will really help me with my Goodreads goal, because I'm behind that thing bad. So, anywho, and then another book that I've been wanting to read for a very long time is Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. And I just happened to find this one again as well at Half Price Books. Didn't go in there looking for it and just found it, but it was $9, and once again, can't beat that. This book is about a woman who's incredibly anxious and finally is reaching out for help. She goes into a Catholic church to have, I don't know, like a confession of some sort, to get help from a priest. The priest mistakes her as someone who's come in for a job interview for the recently deceased receptionist job. Follow me here. The receptionist died and now their job is open, and he thinks that she's here for that. Being the aforementioned anxious person, she doesn't correct him and just goes along with it. So now, while she's in this new religious environment as an atheist, she's coming to terms with trying to figure out how to not let her identity come out, but also understand what happened to the receptionist. So I think basically the entire point of this book is about coming to terms with like the inevitable grief that we all will experience by losing loved ones. And I think that is going to be, that's gonna hit. I'm gonna really like that. And I think it's also kind of funny, because I think I just enjoy the name of the title. Like, the title inherently makes it seem like the book is going to have some humorous points, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And I originally used to love reading lit fic. Like, that was the only thing I ever read was lit fic, and then I discovered fantasy and just never went back. But I'm trying to get back into my lit fic era. Excuse me, hate that, but I'm trying to get back into that kind of mode of reading, because it really left me feeling inspired for my writing, and I really want to get back to that, because I don't want to write fantasies. I don't know why I read it so much, but it's because I enjoy it. But that being said, I think I'm gonna really like this book, and I think it's also gonna be one of those books I'm gonna hopefully get through while I'm waiting for my next copy in the Magnolia Park series. So yes, I think in order to know me, you would know that I am obsessed with Harry Potter, and it's my guilty little quiet secret I keep to myself. But like, if there's ever a time that I don't know what I want to watch, which is quite often, I will watch Harry Potter down to its bone. Like, I will watch it over and over again. Like, there's been times where I've watched Order of the Phoenix and said, oh, that was so good, replay, immediately replayed it. So I love that series. I love it so much, and I have never read the books. Yeah, I've never read the books, and I was like, oh, I don't need to read it. And I remember I tried to read the books, like, I want to say probably like 8 years ago. Like, I want to say early college, late high school. I tried to read the series, and I opened up the book and I said third person. Oh no, I'm not reading that, and I closed it immediately. But I've grown since then. I've read a lot of third person books, and I can handle it now. So I think I'm ready to start the series. And so with that being said, Half Price Books came in clutch again, because I found, I believe, yeah, the 6th and 7th book in the series in hardback, $5 each. Yep. Yep. So I'm still missing 1 through 4, but I'm very happy. I got these for $5 each, so $10 altogether. So when you think about it, I bought these 3 books together yesterday after I went to Barnes & Noble and said I'm not getting anything out of here, and I went to Half Price instead. These books together were $17, so I bought 3 hardcovers for the price of 1 paperback. I just can't go. I will go eventually, but this is too good of a price to miss, you know? And also it's one of those things where it's like Harry Potter. There are so many copies of this book everywhere. There's really no reason for you to ever buy it full price at a store. Like, you just need to go to a thrift store, go to the Goodwill, go to the Salvation Army, go to a half price like independent bookstore that resells books, because they will be there. They will be there at all times. And Harry Potter is always at half price books, but it's usually like at the actual half price of like the market retail sales price. But this one happened to just be in the clearance section for $5, and I was like, okay, cool, $5 for a hardback, got me. So I plan on reading the Harry Potter series at some point this year. It's really banking on like when I find the first one, you know, and then I'll start that journey for myself. But this was such a win for me. I really needed it after the week I had, so I'm very glad.